Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Ferrer, your professor to our course, Places and Landscape in the Changing World. And our first topic under the course is the rise of social sciences. But before we discuss the topic, I would like to ask the class regarding the course Geography. What is geography? Maybe you have your own definition or your own idea of the word geography, but authors has also given us a general definition of the word. They define it as the study of what is where and why it's there. Have you experienced asking yourself why you are there, why you are in that place, why you belong to that family, why you are in Rojas, Palawan, why you are in Taytay, Palawan, why you are in the Philippines, and why those things around you are located out there, why we cannot find things here that can be found in other places. Whatever your answer to those questions, that is your idea of what geography is. Now I would like to introduce to you the historical background of the growth of social sciences. This is actually how human knowledge have developed in progress. Books have recorded that social sciences can be traced back to the Greek civilization and famous for those philosophers during the civilization were Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Let's start with the philosophy of Socrates. According to him, it is better for man to suffer an injustice than to commit one. In short, it is good for man to experience some injustices than to be the source of that injustice. Critics call that the Socratic irony, as if it is better that we will be victims of some injustices than to be the cause of those ill feelings to another person. Socrates was also known for this philosophy that according to him, the one thing that I know is that I know nothing. It is also equivalent to saying that the more you know that you know less. There are instances where people presume that as if they know everything that the world can offer, that knowledge can create. However, once a philosopher has believed that the one thing that he knows is that he knows nothing. He further stressed that bad behaviors was the result of ignorance, and those who made mistakes did so because they knew better. We have also a famous saying that goes like this: little ignorance is dangerous. The next we have Plato. In his book Republic, Plato criticizes the direct and unchecked democracy during his time. For him, democracy involves the danger of excessive freedom, of doing as one likes, which leads to anarchy. You know what anarchy is? It is actually the government of having no government at all. Today we define democracy as the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. But with what we are experiencing in the society, we can also define it as the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So for Plato, democracy is highly corruptible. Why? Because it opens its gates to manipulators, to dictators that can lead to tyranny. And of course, Plato was also known with his saying that democracy is the rule of ignorance. And of course, we have Aristotle. He is known for his metaphysics, which studies the nature of existence. He called metaphysics as the first philosophy or wisdom. He actually focused on being qua being, which examine what can be said about being based on what it is, based on its nature, not because of any particular quality that being possesses. So it's more on what constitutes that being, what is natural to that being, or not of what particular quality that being possesses. And of course, Aristotle is known for the saying, to see is to believe. And I guess class, you are very familiar with this saying. Philosophy is said to be distinct from science, and that science would not have developed if it remained under the wings of philosophy and theology. In fact, the growth of social science has actually started during the scientific revolution between 1550 and 1700s. And we have now the different philosophers who have given so much attention on social sciences during the scientific revolution. And we have to start with Nicholas Copernicus. He actually wrote Commentarius, or small commentary, which summarizes his heliocentric planetary system. And in this commentary, he included these 7 principles. First is, the planets do not revolve around one fixed point. The Earth is not at the center of the universe. The Sun is at the center of the universe, and all celestial bodies rotate around it. The distance between the Earth and the Sun is only a tiny fraction of stars' distance from the Earth and Sun. Stars do not move, and if they appear to move, it is only because the Earth itself is moving. The Earth moves in a sphere around the Sun, causing the Sun's perceived yearly movement, and the Earth's own movement causes other planets to appear to move in an opposite direction. But of course, these principles of Copernicus, as included in his work, was considered heretical by the Roman Catholic Church because the Church believed otherwise, and it tried to discredit this commentary of Nicholas Copernicus. Next, we have Sir Isaac Newton. He is known for his laws of motion, called the Principia. His first law states that the stationary body will stay stationary unless an external force is applied to it. I guess you believe in that. The second law states that force is equal to mass times acceleration, and a change in motion is proportional to the force applied. And I guess we have the same concept with that. And the third law is that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Do you think so, class? And because of these three laws of motion, Newton was able to arrive at his theory of gravity. And you are all familiar with this theory. His law states that two objects attract each other with a force of gravitational attraction that is proportional to their masses and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between their centers. I guess you have answered already that theory of Newton while you were in your high school. Next, we have Sir Francis Bacon. He actually developed a method to use in weighing the truth of a certain knowledge. Because man is subject for errors in interpreting what their senses have perceived. Bacon also realized that our sensory experiences can provide us the best possible experience of making sense of the world. And I think we will all agree to that statement. But because human can be erroneous, or can interpret incorrectly what they see, what they hear, they smell, they have tasted or felt, Bacon also insisted that we have to put some doubt in everything before we make some assumption to its truth. So he introduced testing potential truth or testing hypothesis. And that's what scientists, what researchers, innovators, and the likes are doing in order to test their hypothesis. They have to undergo series of tries, of experiments, etc. Another philosopher was René Descartes, who invented the analytical geometry and at the same time introduced skepticism as an essential part of the scientific method in support to the work of Bacon, putting some doubts in scientific method. That's why they encourage scientists, researchers to test their hypothesis. Descartes was regarded as one of the greatest philosophers in history because of his analytical geometry, which was actually a breakthrough that separates the fields of geometry and algebra. And of course, he was known for inventing the Cartesian coordinate system. In addition, because of the growing triumph of scientific methods over the religious dogma and theological thinking that gives some idea to Martin Luther when he made his protest against the power of the Roman Catholic Church. And because of those happened between the 15th to the 17th century, now these European intellectual movements gave birth to the Enlightenment period from the 17th to the 18th century. This emphasized reason in individualism rather than tradition. So we have these philosophers we have mentioned earlier, Descartes, and added to that we have John Locke, Newton also, and Immanuel Kant, we have Voltaire, we have Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and Adam Smith. They were the philosophers who were known during the Enlightenment period. Okay, now let's start with John Locke. John Locke refuted the theory of the divine rights of kings. He argued that all persons are endowed with natural rights such as the right to life, liberty, and property. That for him, if rulers fail to protect those rights mentioned earlier, they may be removed by the people by force if necessary. John Locke was also known for his concept of tabula rasa. For him, the human mind is like a blank slate that receives knowledge and forms itself based on experience alone. That human beings are born blank and they will be identified entirely by their experiences and their perceptions, through their senses of the world around them. That literally, according to him, people start life from scratch. Will you agree with John Locke? Next we have Immanuel Kant. His philosophy is more on the rightness or wrongness of action does not depend on the consequences of that action, but it is on whether that action fulfills a certain duty. For him, there was a supreme principle of morality. Morality means the rightness or wrongness of actions. His moral philosophy is the philosophy of freedom, meaning the standard of moral philosophy is freedom. That without human freedom, then moral appraisal and moral responsibility would be impossible. Because Kant believes that if a person could not act otherwise, then his or her act can have no moral worth. Meaning, an action is worthy of morals if that person doing the act can do it freely. Okay? So, what about your class? What is your own standard of morality? Next, we have Voltaire. Of course, Voltaire believed above all in the efficacy of reason. That for him, social progress could be achieved through reason, and not that no authority, including religious or political, should be immune to challenge by reason. In short, whatever the society is trying to achieve, it should be through reason. And whether those having authority, whether it's religious or political, are not immune to any challenge using reason. But of course, Voltaire emphasized in his work the importance of tolerance, especially religious tolerance. It's because even today, governing the society is always exposed to criticisms of the religious sector. So, for Voltaire, society has to practice tolerance, especially religious tolerance. Next is Jean-Jacques Rousseau. He was known for his belief that man by nature is good. But what makes man bad? So he argued that people in the state of nature were innocent and at their best, and that they were corrupted by the unnaturalness of the civilization. So meaning from the start, by nature, men are good. But because of the environment, because of this civilization which he claimed to be unnatural, the goodness of the person was being corrupted. How about you? Do you agree with this belief of Jean-Jacques Rousseau? Another is Adam Smith. He is actually known for creating the concept of GDP, or gross domestic product, and for his theory of compensating wage differentials. Adam Smith actually is the father of economics. So, if you can see in his ideas, he is more concentrated with economics. According to his theory, dangerous or undesirable jobs tend to pay higher wages as a way of attracting workers to these positions. I think you will agree with this idea of Adam Smith. His theory is also based on the principle of laissez-faire, which requires that the state should not impose any restriction on freedom of an individual, particularly in business. And these theories of Smith are all included in his book, The Wealth of Nations. And the last for this topic is the birth of social sciences in response to some turmoil of the modern period. So sociology, being the branch of social sciences, deals with the study of human interactions, of social groups and institutions. It addresses problems of the self and the individual and how it relates to the larger social structures. And of course, proponents for these philosophies includes Auguste Comte, we have Karl Marx, we have also Max Weber. So according to Auguste Comte, was the first actually to develop the concept of sociology. He defined sociology as a positive science, meaning the search for invariant laws of the natural and social world. So he identified three methods for discovering these invariant laws. This includes observation, experimentation, and comparison. So today, in order for us to uncover new knowledge that pertains to sociology, researchers and sociologists are using these basic methods in answering their questions or improving their theories or their hypotheses. Next, we have Karl Marx. Marx developed a theory that the society is a result of class conflict between the proletariat or the working class and the bourgeois, or the business owners or the government leaders. He authored the book The Communist Manifesto. And because of his theories about the society, it helps develop, form the discipline of sociology, and at the same time, the perspectives within sociology. Next, we have Max Weber. His theory is more on bureaucracy, and he defined bureaucracy as a highly structured, formalized, and impersonal organization. Today, government institutions are actually using these concepts of bureaucracy by Max Weber. He also instituted the belief that an organization must have a defined hierarchical structure, and that's what we are doing in our institution. They should have clear rules or regulations, and that's true. And of course, lines of authority which governs this organization. That's why if you visit government offices or even private offices, you will always find an area where their organizational structure is visible. And that concept was introduced to the society by Max Weber. Okay?